It's over 9,000!
Welcome, Super Elite Warriors, to Final Forum, a podcast for the discussion of all things Dragon Ball. I am your host, Jelly, an elite recruiting member of the Frieza Force on a mission to find the best warriors from across the galaxy to join the greatest army of all time. And I am not joined today by my usual co-host, as this is Dragon Ball-oween mini-sode number 1. What is that? What are you talking about? We like to try and celebrate the October and Halloween season as much as we can here on Final Forum. And as I've said many times and will continue to say, it's hard to do scariest Dragon Ball thing. You could do that like once, maybe twice, and then you run out of it. And so in order to try and get as many things as we can, as many years as we can, every year we do a couple of episodes that focus on things that aren't Dragon Ball, which we've done the 1986 Journey to the West already, and in the very near future you'll be hearing our commentary track for Gamera versus Guiron. And then also, Bikini and I each do a separate mini-sode where we do a top 10 list of something different to just try and celebrate the October and fall season and push a little bit more extra stuff out there for everyone. So I hope everyone is having a fun and safe and enjoyable October as much as we can right now with everything that's going on, unfortunately. But hopefully you're out there getting your costumes ready, watching those horror movies. I'm a big fan of watching a movie every day during October. I've done that so far. Also on our Blue Sky, hopefully you're following us over there. I am putting up a movie a day, an anthology movie a day, every single day highlighting a different horror anthology film. I've done 20 plus of them at this point, and I'll be doing one every single day until the 31st. And that's just my attempt to try and have some fun with the holiday. We'll be back to as much Dragon Ball as usual after October. And so for today, in order to just give you a little taste of just me by myself, which I understand is probably a lot of what the episodes are, it's me talking a lot. I love talking, as you've probably learned from listening to the show. But this is going to be my top 10 Dragon Ball attacks. Now, these are going to be named attacks, not like, oh, that time when Goku and Roshi kicked each other in the face. And I mean, that would maybe be on my top 10 list, but there's not an attack that's called Goku and Roshi kick to the face mirror technique. These are techniques, these are moves, these are your, I mean, it's going to be on my list, but these are your Kamehamehas, things that kids might do when they're playing on the playground, not so much just great attack moments. These are the attacks and the moves themselves. So we'll start with number 10, which is the Kikoho, as Bikini has called it, I think, in the past, the geometry-defying attack. It's very cool, it's pretty powerful, and it kind of comes with like a bit of a cost associated with it. I wish we'd get a little bit more of that in the Dragon Ball world, and especially with this attack, we don't really see the Kikoho having that draining effect, that danger to the life of the user as much anymore. But I like the idea of an attack that comes with a potentially very high risk. Number 9 on my list is the Masenko. We've talked about the reasons for me liking this fairly recently on our Nappa episode, so you can search for Nappa in our feed, or you can go back to July 15th, 2015, or look for Season 4, Episode 10, and listen to that. But I love that the Masenko is clearly an attack developed by Piccolo for Piccolo, hence it being called the Demon Flash of Light, and even using that demon kanji in its makeup, but it's used almost exclusively in Dragon Ball and in the show by Gohan. It's a great bit of character exposition via fighting, which is something Toriyama did really well and which most Dragon Ball fans sadly overlook. Number 8, Hakai. I dig that the Hakai, the destruction attack of the gods of destruction, specifically usually when we've seen it in Dragon Ball Super Beerus, has seemingly sort of nebulous rules around it. Sometimes the destruction is so powerful its blast radius can destroy nearby objects too. Sometimes it is just exactly as big as it needs to be. Sometimes the being in its crosshairs can fight back. Sometimes they just sort of Thanos snap away. It illustrates something that we're going to be talking about a lot in 2026 as we dig into the Frieza saga and ultimately get to the Super Saiyan transformation and the battle between Goku and Frieza, and that is that ki control is as important as, if not more important than, ki size and strength. These things are super important to understanding Dragon Ball, and it's where you can start to see that it might seem that the Hakai is this sort of nebulous, just kind of does whatever it wants to in the moment that Toyotaro wants it to do at that time, but it's got maybe a little bit more to do with how the user is controlling their ki at that moment. Number 7, the Wolf Fang Fist. Okay, so it is kind of useless, and I believe it's Jackie Chun, Master Roshi, who points out that it's a whole lot of movement and a whole lot of flash and not a whole lot of hitting. But how many other physical attacks in Dragon Ball have names? Dragon Fist? Is that the only other one? I really like the visuals that come with the Wolf Fang Fist. I like that it's a physical attack rather than a beam. I just like it, and I think the rule of cool kind of takes over for this one. Number 6, Solar Flare. Some might argue this isn't an attack. To those people, I say, pshaw. Solar Flare is such an effective technique that we often find ourselves wondering why it isn't used more often. I think the implication is that everyone has learned ki awareness better now, such that eyesight is less important to them, but I still love it whenever this move is busted out and used to gain someone a reprieve to plan their next attack. Okay, now we're in our top 5. We're into stuff that I think is genuinely, like, incredible. Number 5, the Final Flash. People can and have talked a bunch of smack about the Final Flash and how it ain't final because it's never finalized anyone, but how dare you let that take away from how cool it looks. The charging scene when it's first used against Cell is spectacular. The use of it is great. It is really powerful. Imagine if Cell had taken it full force, and it's still being used regularly by Vegeta makes it a worthy addition to the list. The Final Flash is awesome. That's my number 5. Number 4, the Special Beam Cannon. It may be a mouthful in any language, with Makonkosappo being also a bit verbose and Demon's Killing Light Gun being even worse, but it's gotta be one of the most unique looking attacks in the entire franchise. Leave it to Piccolo to come up with an attack that has as much drip as he does. And the Special Beam Cannon, with its spiraling look to it and just very cool visual, is my number 4 on this list. Number 3, the Genki Dama, or the Spirit Bomb. We're going to eventually talk a lot about the Genki Dama and what it means and its connotations and all that, but We've already, I think, even talked a little bit about how Genki means like vitality. I dig that it's basically a bad guy killer that doesn't hurt someone with a pure heart. That's a fun way to turn something that was a little bit underwhelming previously, as I'll discuss in my honorable mentions, into a good offensive weapon. Number 2, the Kamehameha. What kid hasn't thrown a Kamehameha while playing? How many pro athletes and celebrities have? Is this the most iconic attack in all of Dragon Ball, in all of anime, in all of pop culture? It may well be, and eventually we'll get a whole episode talking about the Kamehameha one of these days. But I think one thing that makes it enduring is that there's a lot of variance to it. Even though it's the same basic attack, there's like 5 to 10 different ways that it's employed, which keeps it kind of fresh, even when it's just quote-unquote just the 50th Kamehameha you've seen. Now, before I get to my number 1, let's do some honorable mentions. Number of my honorable mentions, I'll just say the Devil Might Beam. I like that there exists in this world an attack that makes you explode from the dark thoughts in your heart, but never getting to see it do this makes it underwhelming. And that's my that's my tie into the Genki Dama, is if you're pure-hearted, the Devil Might Beam does nothing to you, but also if you're pure-hearted, you can use the Genki Dama. So another honorable mention, the Galick Gun. It's just Vegeta's Kamehameha, which gives us an awesome beam clash in the Saiyan arc, but as almost just a variant of another on this list, I left it off. Vegeta's Final Explosion. I don't think this was really a named attack until Super, and it feels less like a calculated attack than a sacrifice. That's why it's not on my list. Then my final honorable... Actually, I've got a couple more honorable mentions. I've got Majin Buu's Human Extinction attack and his Candy Beam. They're both really cool in pretty different ways. Candy, because it's a silly undercutting of a powerful villain. Human Extinction, because it shows just how powerful and deadly he is underneath this silly exterior. But neither feels properly named or like something someone would shout on the playground or something, or even that the character shouts out necessarily. And speaking of shouting out and shouting it out on the playground, my last honorable mention is Goku Black's Sickle of Sorrow, because that name is terrible, but it is a really cool attack. As for my number 1, what could possibly beat the Kamehameha and top the Kamehameha? The Destructo Disc, or the Kienzan. That one of the most powerful and deadly attacks in Dragon Ball comes from Krillin is probably one of my favorite things about Krillin. Every time I revisit the Saiyan saga, I actually kind of want Nappa to be dumb enough to actually stand in front of the Destructo Disc. It causes actual damage to Frieza. It looks really cool both in the manga and where it's just very unique in its appearance, and in the anime where its glowing edge effect is really well done. And that is the Kamehameha, or the Destructo Disc. I think it is very cool. That is my number 1 attack. It's my favorite. I'm sorry, Kamehameha. I'm sorry, Genki Dama. I'm sorry, Piccolo. You got that drip with the special beam cannon. And I'm sorry to my boy Vegeta with your Final Flash and your Galick Gun and your Final Explosion, all being great attacks, but they are just not the Destructo Disc, which I think is awesome, actually. So that's it for my top 10 Dragon Ball attacks. Again, that was the Kikoho was my number 10. Let me pull up my list. I already closed it, but let me pull it up for you one more time. Kikoho was my number 10, and I had others. Masenko number 9, Hakai number 8, Wolfang Fist number 7, Solar Flare number 6, Final Flash number 5, Special Beam Cannon number 4, Genki Dama number 3, Kamehameha number 2, and number 1 Destructo Disc. Hopefully, everyone is having a fun and enjoyable Halloween, October, and they continue to do so, and keep it glued to Final Forum, where in the coming weeks, for sure, months, definitely, we're going to be talking about the Ginyu Force and Frieza and Namek and a whole bunch of really cool stuff with that. And I will catch everyone next time. In the meantime, what will next year's top 10 mini-sodes be? Find out next time and help us achieve our Final Forum.
Form is written and produced by Tom Gwelly. It is performed by Dan Kinney and Tom Gwelly. Our webmaster is Dan Kinney. Our theme music is provided by YouTube content creator GVG Kid. Want to learn more about the Dragon Ball universe, including concept art, behind-the-scenes interviews, and recommendations from Jelli and Bikini? Connect with us on social media. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Final Forum Pod. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you receive your podcasts. And of course, make sure to share it with your friends and family and help us spread the word of the glory of Lord Frieza. The Frieza Force thanks you for your listenership.